cars are built to break records. Some are built to sell dreams. And then there are cars like the Mercedes-Benz CLK GTR, built simply to prove that limits are meant to be broken. This is not a story about luxury. It's not even really about practicality. It's about ambition, arrogance, and audacity. The kind of mindset that says, we can do it because no one else can. The CLK GTR is the kind of car that shouldn't exist, but it does, because Mercedes wanted to make a point. The story begins in the mid-1990s, a golden age for motorsport. The FIA GT1 Championship was the battleground for some of the most extreme machines ever built. McLaren had the iconic F1 GTR, Porsche had the 911 GT1, and Mercedes. They weren't just going to watch from the sidelines, but there was a catch. To compete, each manufacturer had to build a road-legal version of their race car. It didn't have to make sense. It just had to exist. While most companies started with a road car and adapted it for racing, Mercedes flipped the formula entirely. They decided to start with a pure race car and then just make it legal enough to drive on the street. That decision defined everything that followed. The result was brutal. The Mercedes-Benz CLK GTR looked like something out of a sci-fi movie, wide, low, and absolutely menacing. Under its sculpted body sat a 6.9-liter naturally aspirated V12 engine. Producing over 600 horsepower. It could reach 100 kilometers per hour in about 4 seconds and had a top speed north of 340 kilometers per hour. Figures that, for the late 1990s, bordered on insanity. But the numbers only tell part of the story. Almost every single component of the CLK GTR was hand-built. The carbon fiber body, the suspension geometry, even the gear lever, all engineered with one obsession: to win. Mercedes didn't design it to be comfortable. There was no soft leather, no infotainment, no concern for the driver's comfort. It was hot, loud, and violent. But when that V12 screamed, it was pure mechanical symphony, the kind that makes your chest vibrate and your pulse quicken. It wasn't a car for the road. It was a race car with license plates, an engineering statement wrapped in aluminum and carbon fiber. But Mercedes wasn't satisfied. Winning the GT1 series wasn't enough. They wanted the crown jewel, the world's toughest endurance race. So they evolved the CLK GTR into something even more extreme, the Mercedes CLR. It was lighter, sleeker, and designed with cutting-edge aerodynamics. On paper, it was perfect, but perfection in theory doesn't always translate to reality. The CLR had a problem, one so subtle that no one realized it until it was too late. At very high speeds, the front of the car tended to lift. Under the right or wrong conditions, air could get under the body, turning the car into a wing. It sounds like an exaggeration, but at Le Mans 1999, the world saw what that really meant. During practice, Mark Webber, yes, the future Formula One star, was behind the wheel. He was going over 300 kilometers per hour, flat out down the Mulsanne Straight, when he hit a small bump. In an instant, the CLR's nose lifted, air rushed underneath, and the car took off. It flipped backward, soaring through the air before slamming onto its back. Miraculously, Webber walked away unharmed. The team made adjustments, convinced it was a one-time event. But the next day, it happened again. Same driver, same car, same terrifying flight. 2 airborne crashes in 24 hours. Any other team would have pulled out immediately. But Mercedes, desperate to prove themselves, decided to race anyway. And that's when disaster struck for the third and final time. During the race, Peter Dumbrecht was behind the wheel as he approached a fast uphill section. The CLR once again caught air, but this time the lift was catastrophic. The car launched skyward, spun through the air, and disappeared from the cameras. It flew over the barriers and landed in the trees. The footage stunned the world. It wasn't just an accident. It was a public disaster, broadcast live, watched by millions. The CLR had turned from a race car into a cautionary tale. After that crash, Mercedes withdrew every single car from the race. They packed up, went home, and never returned to the GT1 category again. The incident effectively ended Mercedes' little man's ambitions for decades. For Mercedes, it was humiliating. They had set out to dominate, and instead, they built a car that could fly, literally. The project that began as a statement of superiority became a reminder that engineering arrogance has consequences. But while the CLR was buried in history, the CLK GTR lived on. It became something else, a symbol of what happens when a brand pushes itself to the edge of reason. Only 25 road cars were ever made. Each one cost millions. Each one handcrafted. Each one slightly different. Owning a CLK GTR isn't about driving pleasure. It's about owning a piece of madness, a reminder of a time when car manufacturers weren't afraid to take stupidly bold risks. Today, the CLK GTR is a collector's dream, a unicorn of automotive history. When one appears at auction, it sells for astronomical prices. But its real value isn't in numbers, it's in what it represents. The CLK GTR is a time capsule, from an era when car companies built machines not for profit, but for pride, when winning was everything, when mistakes were catastrophic, but glory was eternal. It's easy to laugh at the CLR's flights now, but in truth, they remind us how close innovation and disaster can be. One miscalculation, one gust of air, and the line between genius and madness disappears. The Mercedes-Benz CLK GTR was never meant to be practical. It wasn't meant to be driven to work or to pick up groceries. It existed because Mercedes wanted to prove that they could build the ultimate machine. And even if that ambition led to failure on the racetrack, it gave birth to one of the most outrageous, unforgettable cars ever made. The CLK GTR doesn't just represent speed. It represents human ambition, raw, risky, and unfiltered. It's not a car that plays it safe. It's a car that says, let's see how far we can go. And sometimes that's exactly what makes history. The car that should never have existed. But thank God it does. The Mercedes-Benz CLK GTR, a monument to insanity, genius, and the relentless pursuit of speed.